Before I get started with this review, as a couple of caveats, I'm not reading from a script, so I'll probably stumble over a bunch of words, and it'll take me forever to get what I need to say out. And I've only watched the first episode, and I watched it right in the middle of the night when it came out. I was pretty exhausted, but I'm still going to give my reaction to not necessarily what was in the episode, but something that's kind of bigger than the episode, which I think is going to bother a lot of people, and that's the new structure of the show. And I'm going to explain why this structure exists. I think that's the thing that Arrested Development fans who haven't been following it very closely, the development of this and listening to what Mitch has said about how the show has changed, they're going to be surprised, and I have a feeling, just guessing, I think some people are going to be pissed off. I think some people might actually like it more because it's a little bit slower. But let me explain why it is the way it is. For those of you that haven't seen it, to explain it very briefly, the show is going to focus on less characters per episode. You're not going to have, and it may happen down the road, but you're probably not going to see every character in every episode. For example, the first episode, Michael's almost in every single frame. And the characters that are absent, there's no Lindsay and there's no Tobias. It's kind of weird. There's even Lucille 2 is in it, so it's kind of weird in that regard. But I think what basically has happened is they don't have as much money as they had before, so they basically said, we can't afford to pay everybody for every single episode. Because it's, when you're doing something like this, you're not really getting paid, by the scene or by the hour. They are paying them based on how much they have in each episode. But what they've done is they've given each person a starring role in at least one episode, and they make like $125,000, I think it is, for each of those. There's not 15 characters, so some characters will get more than one starring episode. So this was purely a financial thing. Maybe they had $2.5–3 million they could spend, and they said, look, we can't pay everybody, $40 or $50,000 to appear in an episode. We can't spend, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, whatever it is, just for the actors for every episode. So they had to figure out a way to save money. So what happens is that they cut actors from episodes. Now, what this also does is it changes the pacing of the show. You'll notice that there's a lot of scenes that last for a very long period of time. In the first 3 seasons, you might spend 30 seconds in one location, then you're going somewhere else, and then the narrator bridges the gap between each scene. This feels almost more like a movie than anything else. It feels much slower paced, and the jokes don't come as fast. And I realize that's because there's not as much need for a narrator. If you think about the first 3 seasons, Ron Howard would narrate, and he would set up the next scene. And you would be in a position where right when that scene started, you were ready for, like, machine gun fire of jokes. He had set it up, said, here's what's going on. And most of the time, you're right when something's about to happen. But if the longer that scene drags on, the less jokes you can get out of it as it continues. And I think that this new format, it absolutely proves that there's less jokes the longer the scene carries out. And they're trying to do as much as they can. They're trying to send characters to different locations, but it's the same characters, and it jumps around, and it kind of works. It's still really funny. It's as funny as it can be using this format. But that format, I think we didn't pay enough respect to the format that was created with the first 3 seasons. And now I look back and I say that's why this show was so fun. Obviously the writing is incredible. It's still as good as it was. But how do you get so many jokes into a show? The only other show I can think of in history that has as many jokes. But first of all, I don't think there's another show that has as many good jokes in an episode of Arrested Development. But the only thing that came close was maybe like The Simpsons from season 3 to season 6, season 7, maybe 2 to 7, somewhere in there. Those, every time somebody said something, it was funny. And Arrested Development has that too. But now, as a scene continues to go, you can't sit there and just beat a dead horse. You can't do that. You have to continue and do something else. And when you can't sit there and cut away to a joke that's just about ready to go, you're kind of left with, I don't want to say empty space. I don't want to refer to it as that. I'm not ripping on the episodes. I think it's still going to be great, but I'm worried that Arrested Development fans are going to be annoyed by this because they don't understand why it changed. And Arrested Development fans are intelligent, myself excluded, of course. But I think they're going to go on the web and they'll look up and figure out what's going on. But this isn't Mitch forgot how to do a show. This isn't the actors. If anything, if there's anything to blame, obviously Netflix, they've only got so much money. I mean, this is something added on to. This isn't something, they're hoping that this brings in more subscribers, but this isn't something where they've got advertising that they can put on the shows and make more money. This is just money out of their pocket to produce this show. You can't blame them. I'm sure they spent $3 or $4 million on it total, everything combined. They spent some real money on this. If there's anything to blame, it's the actors who were so passionate about this show, not taking less money. And you kind of understand Jason Bateman. He's done a lot of stuff. Michael Cera, they've done a lot of stuff since Arrested Development. Everybody else is just... everybody else, a couple of others have done a couple of films here and there. But look, filming a 15-episode TV show can take a lot of time. And they wanted money, and Netflix didn't have enough money. So I don't know if the producers of the show went to the actors and said, will you take less money so we can keep the same format? Or if they said, look, there's no way they're going to take less money, so our best solution is to just have it to where maybe each actor's in 4 or 5 episodes. I don't know how that happened, but it comes down to money. There's no way they would have preferred to have this format, because it's an inferior format to what they did. The other thing that I've heard, and I'll have to watch the other episodes to know this for sure, but they've said that really you can watch them out of order. So I guess it all kind of happens at the same time. And I guess the reason why they did that, it could be for a couple of reasons. It could be for maybe they wanted to experiment with the new format and see how it took off. And I think the other thing is they wanted to innovate a little bit. If everything kind of intercuts, and for example, the opening scene with Michael and Job, one of the opening scenes when Michael goes back to the model home, I believe that scene is going to show up through Job's perspective later on. I think that's what they were saying. So they may have said, look, we lost our old format. Let's see if this works, but let's not get a little bit too crazy with telling a story, because we're intercutting, and the pieces will kind of fit together, and there'll be callbacks to other jokes. They may be onto something pretty brilliant with that, because we may see from Michael, what we see in Michael's episode, what we're probably going to see later on is some stuff with George Michael around that episode. Maybe the stuff where they're voting on kicking Michael out of the dorm. We may see something that it comes together in different pieces, which could be very brilliant and could really help the format. I expect that to happen. The more I think about it, the more I expect that to happen. If that does happen, Mitch has got to be the smartest guy on the planet, because you take away his format because there's not enough money, and he figures out a way to do it with less money, and something that could make these episodes much more rewatchable. And that's why I'm really excited. I hope that fans of the show understand that this is a money issue. This isn't Mitch saying, I just want to do this for the sake of doing it because I'm smarter than everybody. No, he understands how great, how amazing, and how perfect the old format was. But when you don't have enough money, you can't have everybody on every episode. And you have to work around schedules too. When people are more busy, there's a lot of stars on this show. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see how it ties together. I've become addicted to the hour-long drama. Game of Thrones, Boardwalk Empire, Downton Abbey, all these great shows that continue stories episode by episode. I'm okay if instead of just continuing a story, what happens is we miss pieces along the way of the story. And as the pieces come together through other episodes, that tells the story. So you may be only telling... there's 7.5 hours of episodes. There may only be 2.5 hours of story there, but we may get it in pieces along the way. So I just hope Arrested Development fans, they're smarter than I am. I'm pretty much an idiot. So if they're smarter than me and I figure this out, I hope they can figure it out. But it really comes down to if you've been keeping up with what's on the air, and I think most Arrested Development fans have. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. It is interesting. They talk about watching the episodes out of order. I don't think I will. I think I'm going to watch them 1 through 15. But I think I could definitely find myself... And look, I've watched every Arrested Development episode 4 or 5 times at least. So maybe this becomes... You don't go back and necessarily watch it for the great jokes that you may have missed or you forgot about because there's so many. But maybe you go back and watch it for the pieces that you didn't think too much about when it was happening because you didn't think it was important. You go back and watch it later. So it's very intriguing. It's different. And I hope people give it a chance. And I think the people who didn't get it the first time around, I think this format's actually better for them. And by those people, I'm talking about morons who just didn't understand it. So I think that this format could actually work better for them. And we'll see where it goes. I hope a lot of people are watching it. I hope people are giving it a chance, and I hope people are loving it. Because, when I started, it's funny, when I started talking here, how long has this been going? 10 minutes? Oh my God. When I started, I was still on the fence about it, but the more I thought about it, the more I talked about it and realized this is kind of what they're doing. The more the discussion comes about, you start to realize, okay, this might be, I still don't think they can top the original format. It was so perfect, but this could be something that's on maybe the same level of brilliance, just in a different way. And that's something, it's almost like jumping the shark if you think about it, except this was done for financial reasons, and it could be something that's as good as the original. We'll have to wait and see. And within a week, probably within 2 or 3 nights, I'll have all these episodes knocked out, and then I'll be able to really get a grip on it. But I expect it to be pretty amazing and in a different way, and that's something that no other show has ever done.